Welcome to Watsonx Orchestrate Hands-on Lab. In this particular lab, we'll be creating an agent tool from an MCP server. Introduction to MCP and Tavily integration. Tavily is a tool that we'll be using. But again, MCP, which is Model Context Protocol, is a standard that allows agents to securely and flexibly interact with external tools and data sources through the MCP servers. Now, MCP enables agents to discover, connect to, and start external tools that are provided by MCP servers. Now, these servers function as intermediaries, presenting various capabilities such as searching the web, querying a database, sending email, or fetching web content in a standardized manner again. Now, this process does not require creating custom APIs or manually setting up connections, making our life simpler and more efficient method for agents to use external tools. Now, with MCP, agents can discover and use these external tools during runtime, enhancing their capabilities beyond their inherent features. Now, all interactions with the external tools are managed through a single protocol. Now, this simplifies connections and improves efficiency. Moreover, MCP facilitates collaboration and tool sharing among agents from different vendors or platforms. Now, during this lab, you will learn how to add a Tavily web search tool to an agent. Now, we'll be importing that using a MCP server, which is again provided by Tavily. Now, Tavily, again, what is it? It's a search engine and API specifically designed for AI agents and RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation workflows. Now, it provides real-time, accurate, and factual search results tailored for use with your large language models. Unlike traditional search engines, Tavily focuses on providing concise, ready-to-use information optimized for LLM context, streamlining the process of integrating dynamic web information into the AI-driven solutions. Let's look at some of the warnings that we have here. Now, when running MCP servers without proper sandboxing, they can execute arbitrary code on your systems with the same permissions as the host process. Now, this creates significant security risk. First one is the system access. You get full access to files, network, and system resources. Then you have the code execution. It can run any commands on your machine. Next is the prompt injection. Malicious prompts could trigger unintended service actions, so you have to be careful what you're using. Next is the data exposure. You might have sensitive data which may be accessed or leaked. So what are some of the best practices to avoid this? So first is to ensure that the MCP server is legitimate and safe for your agents to use. So make sure that it's approved by your organization. Next is run your servers in virtual machines or isolated environments. So that will help you understand them better. Next is review the code before installation. Read every single line of the code. I know these days there's a lot of code agents that are used or AI is used to kind of build this code, but make sure that you go through each and every line of the code. Then limit the permissions to minimum required. Of course, always least permission is what should be followed here quite thoroughly. Next, we have to monitor the server activity. So keep sure your monitorings are on and make sure everything is up and running. Again, Watsonx Orchestrate runs local MCP servers in an isolated VM, and that's what we'll be looking at. So let's look at the lab. This lab will teach you how you can import external tools from Model Context Protocol servers and add them to your agents to enhance the agent's ability to accomplish tasks. Now, the lab is composed of two independent parts. The first one being creating MCP tools using low-code agent builder, which you have seen before. And second is creating MCP tools using the ADK. You've used that too. So let's look at what you learn here. Once you have completed this lab, you will have developed skills enabling you to complete the following tasks. First is to installing servers requiring environment variables, creating and configuring a connection, importing a tool that from an MCP server, and finally creating an MCP tool within the ADK. So what are the prerequisites? Same as before, you have performed the preparation lab guide, including the environment validation step. You probably did this in the previous videos. You have your ADK environment up and running, be it from Orchestrate server, started after validating the environment in the preparation guide, or after having performed another ADK related lab, which we have done before. So it should be good. If you're looking at this video first time, you can always go through and set that up first. Now, if for some reason your servers are not started correctly, reset your server following the reset your environment guide that is provided along with this. So let's jump into our first part, which is importing MCP tools using Watsonx Orchestrate. Now, in this first part of the lab, you will learn how to work with MCP tools using Watsonx Orchestrate running in IBM Cloud. Refer to your lab credentials in the preparation guide and log into the IBM Cloud and ensure you are using the correct account. So let's go back here to the browser. I have already Tavily opened up, so it's always good to kind of sign up for one account. I'm going to go and sign up, even though I have an account with them. Use my email vivian@ibm.com. Always difficult, FEH capital H 25, and continue. And it does have a password already set up. Okay, I'll just continue. Let's hope it saves the passport state updated by checking this box. Continue. So now I have my, if you see, they gave me a researcher plan which has around 1000 credits. I'm going to delete this afterwards, but you can look at the key here. Don't try to use my key, use your own key, because this will be deleted by the time you're looking at this video. And you can always create a bunch of different things here. Fine. You can always go through the API playground, play with it, play around with it, but we are going to use Orchestrate for that. So I'm going to copy this, my API key, and I am going to save it in my notes. So this is my Tavily key. I'll be using it later. Next, I'm going to go to Watsonx Orchestrate. So once you're on this page, once you log in, you'll probably see that it should be pointing to the right account. If it's not, make sure that is selected. Next, go ahead and click on the resources list here, and you'll see the resources list here. Inside that, we are interested in AI and machine learning, and we have Watsonx Orchestrate that we have signed up for earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. Once it opens, you can go ahead and launch Watsonx Orchestrate. So it's going to open another tab for you. Now, to install the MCP servers, so first we'll have to create the Tavily connection. To install these MCP servers that require environment variables, you must add the required variables into an app ID connection using key value pairs. Now, MCP servers fetch the environment variables when they start, so it is important to set the variables before you import or start an MCP server. Now, to connect to Tavily server with your credentials, you must create a new connection in Watsonx Orchestrate. This is the most secured way to import tools not displaying your API keys and credentials publicly. So let's go to the top menu here on the top, and then click on Manage, and then click on Connections. Inside Connections, you'll see I already have this added before, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Click on this Edit, and here it's connected, so I'm going to go ahead and say Delete Credential. So the credential is deleted. That's good enough. So that way we can see from scratch how to build this entire connection here. It has that you can see here, but I can create a new connection. So I'm going to just jump into add a new connection. Here it will ask me, first option is the connection ID. So for this connection ID, since I've used Tavily name before, I am going to call it Tavily underscore MCP underscore 2. I'm going to leave the, let's call it Tavily for demo, and then save and continue. I'm going to say confirm to this. Next, for the authentication part, I'm not going to say single sign-on. I'm going to say key value pair, and my key in this particular case will be, I'll call it Tavily underscore API key, and the value is the new one that we just created here. I'm going to copy this, go back here, and paste it here. So that's good. Next, I'm going to go and try to connect to it. Looks like it connected successfully. That's all. That's good. Let's go ahead and press next. Next thing, it's asking me to configure for the live connection. So again, we can do the same steps. I'll say key value pair. I'll say Tavily API key and paste that key over here and make sure that it connected, and finish right over here. Authentication type cannot be changed. So it's asking me, making sure that please verify authentication type is correct before saving. I'll say confirm, And there you go, my Tavily for demo, which is MCP2, is available. Again, you can ignore this because I'm going to use this connection for this particular lab. Our next step is to create an agent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the agent builder, which is inside build, and here I have a bunch of different agents available. If you see, I've also created Tavily agent before. So I'm going to go ahead and say create new agent. I'll say create from scratch. Again, I'll use the same name, Tavily underscore, instead of search agent, I'll call it lab agent, something like that. Give a nice description of what it helps us for. I can say this Tavily agent helps us with searching things based on users request. Okay, that's good. I'll say create. I can always, once it comes to this page, you can look at this. I'm going to remove this deprecation notice, but it talks about it. It's a description. Whatever I gave, I can change that to something more genuine. Use this agent to perform advanced web search using Tavily. This agent will search over the web-based or the input query you will provide. So something more genuine I'll probably provide here. Next thing that I'm going to do is configure my MCP server. So for that, I can go into the tool set here, okay, and then inside my tool set I can say add a tool, and it will give me a bunch of options. I want to do an MCP server, so I'm going to select MCP server, and that says no MCP servers selected. So I'm going to go ahead and say add MCP server. Inside this it will give me two different options, local MCP server or remote MCP server. I want to use the local MCP server which we have added, so I'm going to say that. Next, I can give a name here for this. I'm going to call it Tavily as the name. Description is optional, but what I can say is Tavily. Let me make sure that is also capital. I'll call it Tavily server created for the lab. Let's call that. Now for the install command, so for there's an install command that is available which we have provided with the notes. If you want, you can type that in with me here. You can say npx -y Tavily -mcp @ this is the version number 0.1.3 is the command that will call. Next, you have select connection here, and if you see, all my connections that I've added are displayed here. I don't want to use the previous one. I want to use the one that we created just earlier, which is Tavily for demo. So I'm going to select that and I'll say import. Or since I've already used this before, I can say Tavily lab import. Now that your server is imported and you are connected to the server, you can add the tools that are exposed to your agent. So if you see, based on whatever I did, it gave me two different options. One is for search, one is for extract. The one that we are interested is the search one. So I'm going to select the search one and I'll say add to the agent. And it says tool added to agent perfectly. So it's green, so that means it was successful, and you can probably see it displayed right over here. Now Tavily is an advanced web search tool. Now more parameters can be specified in addition to the default search query. So you can always look at here and click on edit details and go to parameters. It talks about the Tavily search API. At the same time, it has different parameters available here that you can play around with and add more if you want to. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to cancel this out. I don't want to add any more tools. You can add more tools to it based on the things that are available. I can say MCP server, go through the same stuff, manage the MCP servers. I can look at the Tavily lab that I've created. I can keep on adding and editing more items based on the availability here. Also, if you want to add that other Tavily extract after you added Tavily search, you can always go to add tool, click on local instance, and then you'll see that extract search from my Tavily lab and my previous connections, which is Tavily search and Tavily extract, are also available. So you can add more, and if you have more tools added, you can keep on looking at them here and then add them to your agent right here. Now, once we have done that, now is the real test. Your tool is now ready to be used in your agent. Let's use the Watsonx Orchestrate preview here to play with it. So I'm going to go ahead and say what is a MCP server. I'm going to run that here. Let's see, it's going to go ahead and call the Tavily lab agent, this one, and try to figure it out. So it looks like it went through it. It's giving me the answer. An MCP server is a component of model context protocol, whatever. And then you can look at the reasoning here. Go to the step one, and you can see that query was MCP server, topic was general, search depth was basic. And if you see, it went through and got me all the information from this MCP server query. Also, as you can see, the topic here is general, as we haven't specified this input parameter as required in the tool settings in the previous steps. So anyway, we got our answer. We went through the basic Tavily search and it used that agent to give me the answer right over here. So now you're ready to deploy your agent wherever you want. So that's the first part. That's awesome. Congratulations if you were able to go through this. Our next step is going through part 2, where we'll be importing MCP tools, whatever we did, but using Watsonx Orchestrate Developer Edition, which is ADK. So in the first part, you will learn how to work with MCP tools using the Watsonx Orchestrate Developer Edition using the ADK command. So now let's go ahead and open your ADK environment. If you have that running, that's good. If not, you can go here, back here, open the PyCharm Community Edition, and make sure the terminal is open. Next, I can just make sure that just says ADK, clear it out, much more clear. I'm going to open it a little bit more. So just to make sure that you are running on a local environment, you can go ahead and say orchestrate, I spelled it right, env environment activate local. So we'll run that command and say local tenant found environment local is now active. That's what you would want to see. Now let's go ahead and create a Tavily connection. Now, like you have performed in part 1, a Tavily connection must be created to connect Watsonx Orchestrate to the Tavily server you're using. So just imagine that how you did from the UI. Now we're going to do it from here. So for that, I'm going to say orchestrate. Next is connections. I'll say add. I'll pass an app dash ID, and that is Tavily. So it created connections Tavily, successful created that connection. That's awesome. Now next thing is, let's look at our list of connections. If there's anything else, orchestrate connections list. And it runs through it. It says that Tavily connections is there, but guess what? Credentials are not set. If you remember, we have not added credentials anywhere in this particular case. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to type orchestrate. So here what I want to do is, I want to configure the connection parameters as we did it in the previous part through the UI. We'll configure the draft environment, we will use the key value pairs, and we will give the credentials for each team member. So I'm going to say orchestrate connections configure. I don't want to spell wrong. Configure, okay. Dash app dash ID, the ID that I've created above Tavily. I'll say the environment that I want to create is, let's call it draft. Okay, and then I'll say kind is what kind of connection it is, like key value. That's what we have said before in the UI. And then the type is for the entire team. So I'm going to say type team. So that will fill these things up. Looks like I misspelled. Instead of env, I said enc. So let's go and fix that. Okay, there you go. Perfect. So this, I'm going to go ahead and look at the connection list again, and it should show me that the key value creds and the team type team has been added right over here. So that's perfect. So the next step is to enter the Tavily API key that we have. So if you remember, we have saved it in the notes as I mentioned. Here is my key. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back here and I'll say orchestrate connections set dash credentials, and the credentials that I'll say which one is, which is the app is it for? Tavily the app ID Tavily, and then the what is the environment is draft, so it knows exactly what I'm talking about, draft draft, and then the key value is Tavily underscore API underscore key equal to the key that we just copied. So there you go. Set this up, enter. That's just going to go and try to connect to that. Hopefully it worked. Let's go ahead and look at the list one more time. And there you go. It says everything worked perfectly because we see the green check. That's what we need. Next, what we want to do is we want to import the MCP kind search tool, which we did before. The tool to import from Tavily is Tavily-search, which we have seen. We have two, Tavily search and Tavily extract. So we'll do the same thing again. And also we have to give that node command that we had given to import the tool locally here. The tool description will be search the internet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and write this command. Actually, instead of writing this command, I'll copy it from my notes. So in my notes, I'll probably have this orchestrate toolkits import kind MCP. Name is Tavily. Description is search the internet. Command is npx-y Tavily mcp @013. Package is Tavily-mcp013. And the tools that I'm going to use for this. Okay, I think this is tools. Yep, there you go. Tavily search. Again, make sure that you have the right quotes when you copy stuff from somewhere, and app ID is Tavily. Perfect. So looks like everything is good. Let's go ahead and run it. Worst case, we'll probably see what happens. So that runs is creating the toolkit. I can see that that's positive, and says successfully imported toolkit. Now, if you want to look at if this toolkit was added successfully, just say orchestrate toolkits and then list. Make sure it's toolkits, not toolkit. So toolkits list, and you'll probably see that Tavily MCP search the internet. The toolkit is available for it. Now toolkit is ready and it contains the Tavily search tool as expected. You can now create the agent that will use this particular search tool. So to create this agent, we have already provided, if you see here, Tavily search agent. The agent YAML file is available right over here, which we can directly use. As you can see, the tools it's using is this Tavily search that we have set up already. So review this agent and note that it will use the Tavily search you have imported from Tavily. So if everything looks good, next step is to make sure we have that agent. So I'm going to say orchestrate agents, something that we have used in the previous labs. Import. Where is the file available? It's Tavily search agent internet searcher.yaml. So it's going to import that. Okay, awesome. So that internet search was successfully added. Internet searcher was added. So now I can go ahead and start my chat. Orchestrate chat start. So we'll open my browser as soon as I say this and make sure that we have the right agent selected. So it's opening this, and if you see internet searcher is available, there should be nothing else because I reset everything. So that's good. So it says start a new chat. Again, what do I need to search here? What is Tavily search? Question mark, enter. Now it's going to go ahead and call that agent with the MCP server and give me results out. You can see it's reasoning right now. And it took a few seconds, and Tavily search is a powerful web search. It gave me the information about it. If I open this, I can look at it. I'll say that query was Tavily search in general, since we never specified topics. So general was selected, and we have the output that we can look through. So congratulations, you have reached the end of this lab. You were able to complete both the parts. If you had any issues while following along, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions or you get back to me, my email is vivian@ibm.com and I can get back to you with the questions that you have.